Hello, my darling friend. I'm so happy you're here today. This practice is very dear to my heart. I guess you could say that it is one of my signature teachings. It's also one of the most challenging practices you'll ever do on your journey. And at the same time, one of the most freeing, self-serving practices that you will ever embark upon. And it is the practice of forgiveness. It's not your standard, okay, I'm going to forgive that person practice, not even close. There's a little bit of a story behind it. When I was going through my second divorce, I don't think we had even signed papers yet. We had separated. I was living in another home. I was out of my home. I was with my children. It's a very long, convoluted story. The details don't matter at this point, and while I would love to share them, and one day perhaps I will, out of respect for my children, I think I'll keep those details private. Anyway, I was in a very, very dark place. I think I've shared with you already at some point that I was in a place that I would lay in my bed and look at the closet and try to figure out how I could disappear without leaving my kids alone, without leaving them uncared for. And of course, there was no way. I wasn't suicidal in any way. It was just wanting to disappear. I don't know how else to explain it. And as I've also shared with you, my grandmother was a kahuna in the Hawaiian Huna spirituality. My grandmother passed when I was quite young, and while I have many wonderful memories with her, she never really taught me anything that I remember. And I certainly don't know why she would have taught me a forgiveness practice. I mean, she passed when I was 12 years old, so I don't remember ever having any kind of spiritual healing, growth, teaching practices with her. And at the time that I was in this very dark night of the soul, because I really had no faith in any of my practices, beliefs, teachings at this point. I didn't know what I believed, what I was doing, what the hell was happening in my life. I was in my second divorce. I had 3 children. I was doubting myself and all of my choices, all of my decisions, my perceptions, my beliefs, everything. I was reading Conversations with God, but more specifically, somehow I had come across the book, The Little Soul in the Sun. And I've definitely shared this. You will hear me mention it ad nauseum because I really feel that it's a very, very special, enlightening read. And it's a children's book, so it's easy. I had been reading The Little Soul in the Sun, and I went to sleep that night. And as I was going to sleep, I was praying, please help me get out of this. I don't ever want to be in this type of dark place again. I don't know how to see my way out of this. I don't know where to turn. I don't know what I believe anymore. And I have 3 children to raise, and I want to raise them well. I needed help. And I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and had 4 phrases in my mind that I had, up until that point, never heard before. And those phrases were, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Somehow, I learned that those were the 4 phrases that went with the Hawaiian Una forgiveness practice called Ho'oponopono. Those phrases are, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And that's the forgiveness practice. And I started to meditate on and contemplate those phrases, and I was stuck on the first one. And I was wondering, so how does this work? Is this in conversation? Is this an opportunity for the people who've hurt me to sit down with me and say, I'm sorry? And I was like, when hell freezes over, that's never, ever, ever going to happen. First of all, I had no interest in having those conversations. I didn't want to give the power of my healing over to the people who had hurt me. And I also intuitively knew, and this was a big part of my prayer and contemplation and meditation life at the time, was I was the common factor. It was me. I made all of the choices that I had made that had resulted in my being in this particular place. Again, remember, it was my second divorce, but now it was like, on crack. The place that I was in was dark beyond divorce pain. So on that first phrase, I'm sorry, I really was stuck. And so I started researching. And at the same time, the teachings of the little soul in the sun kept crossing my mind, kept coming to my awareness. And so I did a search of the Ho'oponopono prayer. And it turns out that this practice can be done either together, you with the person that you are having the painful situation with, or it's something that you can just do with yourself. I don't know if Ho'oponopono teaches it that you can do it with yourself, but this is how I was understanding it. And furthermore, what I was understanding was the teachings of the little soul in the sun. Imagine that prior to your incarnation on this earth, in this life, you and the soul of the human that you're having this painful relationship with got together, your souls got together, wherever souls get together, whatever you want to call it, and said, hey, let's help each other on our evolutionary process, on our evolutionary journey, on our soul's journey. Let's help each other. I'm going to be there for you. And very likely, I'm going to be there for you, for you. This is key, not to you, but for you, for your best interest, so that you can have soul-aligned spiritual growth. I suddenly had this insight, and again, whether this is how the Ho'oponopono practice was designed or not, this was my understanding of it, and this is how I practiced it. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry for how I'm showing up in this situation and metabolizing it and speaking to everyone as if you did something to me instead of something for me. Now, here's the thing. The person on the other side of this scenario, they're not part of the conversation. You're not here to convince anybody that their actions or behaviors are in your best interest. But what if they are? Here's another way to help you understand it. One of my favorite teachers, again, I've mentioned her name many times, I will continue, Caroline Myss, says when you are in a struggle, let's say you're in a relationship and you struggle with jealousy, you're jealous about everything. The powers that be are not going to send you a perfect partner who always has blinders on their eyes and never looks at another person and never sparks jealousy, and nobody would ever be interested in them. They're going to send you somebody that gorgeous, wonderful person is going to flirt with right in front of your face for the purpose of triggering your jealousy. Now, this all ties in. You've heard me say triggers are not here for everyone else outside of you to conform for your comfort. They are here to show you what you need to heal, what you need to evolve from, what, dare I say, you need to let go of. And one of the things that we need to let go of in this forgiveness practice is blame. One of the things that we need to let go of is short-sightedness and narrow-mindedness in believing that the experience that you are having with the other person has anything to do with them. Why would this be the way that God, the universe, Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, whatever your faith and belief is, why would it work in this way? What if you were given painful life experiences that you had the opportunity to heal and grow and evolve from, to then be a source of empathy, compassion, or strength for another human being who is suffering a similar scenario, or even simply suffering, that you now have a baseline to be able to say, I know that pain and I get it, and that you understand nobody can fix it. There are no just right words. Trying to have just the right words to tell someone how to fix their sorrow, their suffering, their pain, has it ever worked for you? Has somebody had just the right words? Sure, there's words of comfort, but usually when somebody's words land, it's because they've had some degree of shared experience. They understand. And you can feel that in the undercurrent of the words and what's behind them. So this very first part of the forgiveness practice, of you visualizing the person who has so deeply hurt you, whether it's a deep hurt, whether it's a mild little bitch slap that pissed you off, whether it was a savage, brutal pain, that you're sitting in a visualization. You don't have to actually have this conversation with this person, because remember, it has nothing to do with them. It has only to do with you, of freeing yourself. And when has running around validating your pain, enlisting all of the people around you to justify and validate what a horrible piece of shit that person is for hurting you the way that they did. And some people really truly are. And some people really have no idea how badly they've hurt you. And here's another thing. Do you think that maybe, just maybe, it's possible that somebody is working a forgiveness practice, visualizing you on the other end of it? It's a tough pill to swallow. I'm pretty sure that there is, but it's not for you to worry about. It's their journey. Also, in these forgiveness practices, it's not up to you to guide somebody else who hasn't asked you for your help and your support into and through their healing practice, their healing experience. You can't convince anybody that how they hurt you was wrong when they're not agreeing with you, when they're not seeing it, when they're not believing it, when they have such deeply seated hurts from their own life, from their own experience that informs how they operate, that it's too big to take on anyway. So this is where it comes back to, you are your priority. Worry about yourself. So the very first step of this forgiveness practice is the hardest, without question. You sit down and you visualize, and I'll put a link. I have a guided practice that's used frequently by many. I'll put a link in the show notes for a guided practice, but essentially you sit down, you visualize yourself sitting across from them, and you really take time to contemplate your role in the situation that exists. Now, I'm not talking about something savage like childhood domestic violence or an act of rape or an act of violence or something like that. There still is an opportunity for forgiveness and utilizing this forgiveness practice, because you can take it to the soul level. What if it is your purpose in this life to help guide others out of extraordinary suffering? Look, I'm not saying this is exactly how it is, but somehow giving value to the pain and the suffering that we have in our life, I know for me, has helped me to reclaim my power. And this really does all circle back around to personal power. And this is what I mean by that. When you hold on to pains, and this is why I am not a supporter of triggers and identifying as, well, that triggers me because I had this, because I had that. Now you're taking ownership of the pain from the experiences that you've had in your life instead of I healed from, I grew from, I took back my power. I don't move through this life in fear. I don't walk into relationships with fear. It's a huge difference because I knew, going back to my personal experience, that if I continued to blame my ex-husbands, now what I will tell you from that situation is those two who never particularly cared for each other prior to my separation from my second marriage, now we're best friends. They suddenly decided to become best friends so they could do whatever it is that they were doing against me, and openly and publicly, and they really hung me over the fire, and I needed that. They did me such a service, not a disservice, a service, because I have a strength in me now that isn't hard. It's soft. I'm open. I have no resentment. I have nothing towards these men but gratitude. Are they still a pain in my ass sometimes? Absolutely. Is that their problem? No. Is how they are still in their lives my problem? No. And not only that, it's none of my business. And I don't have to make it my business. I don't stalk their social media. I don't ask their people how things are going in their now marriages with their families so I can hear about how horrible it might be going. I wish nothing but love and happiness for them. And as a matter of fact, we are all where we belong. And I don't know if they have processed through or forgiven me for whatever their experience was with me. It doesn't make a difference to me. And through letting all of that go, and through genuinely sending them nothing but love and light, I have pulled my power back, because as long as you keep that attachment of resentment, of anger, of pain, of punishment. Oh, there goes one of my lights. I'm not starting this over again. So if the next light goes off, I'm just going to be in the dark here. Anytime you hold on to those feelings, it's not giving you power. It's actually quite the opposite. It's draining your power. Imagine that you have an energetic cord attached to that person, and it's vacuuming your energy out of you in a negative way. And this is why people get sick. This is why people don't heal. You have to find a way to let it go. And there is a way to let it go. Number one, it's to see I was half of that equation. Right, wrong, indifferent, for better or for worse. I chose that relationship. I chose that person. Now, again, there are things that happen in this life that we most certainly do not choose, but I don't know about karmic debt. I don't know what goes on in our souls prior to our incarnation. And this is where faith, for me, comes into play, because I can say in that I'm sorry I didn't see that there's greater purpose. I'm sorry that I made it all about a narrow vision of experience. There's so many ways of understanding how your participation perpetuates your suffering, even if your participation isn't in the scenario necessarily, but your participation in perpetuating your own suffering. Plus, usually, in my understanding and observation and sometimes experience, the reason that people do terrible things is because they are operating from a place of terrible suffering. Now, is that justification for their behavior and their actions and not changing and choosing? Choice is your superhuman power. Please understand that. Not choosing to evolve, to heal, to grow. It's not a justification. But understanding how you are showing up and receiving and participating in the experiences of your life is where your power lies. So forgiveness isn't something that you give to somebody else. I can't tell you how many people in the many years I've been teaching this forgiveness practice. I mean, I woke up with that awareness. It was 12 years ago. So in the hundreds of students that I've had in this program, I can't tell you how many of them have walked into it and said, I can't forgive that. Who are you hurting? Do you think you're punishing that person? To take from the teachings of Teresa of Avila and entering the castle, when you're entering your mansions, one of the mansions are the dungeons. Who are you holding in your dungeons? That's toxic. Do you want to have dark torture chambers and dungeons inside of you? Also, what do you need to forgive yourself for? What are you holding yourself in contempt for? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to apologize to yourself, your system, your soul for? It's a big process, it's a big practice, and it's a big ask. The next step, so I'm sorry, please forgive me. You're asking yourself for forgiveness. You're energetically asking your energy body for forgiveness. You're asking the universe for forgiveness. You're asking the other person for forgiveness. And again, you don't have to call them up or write a letter or an email or drop a text or anything that says, hey, I'm asking your forgiveness because it's part of my healing journey. It has nothing to do with them. Again, this is one of the most self-serving practices. And I'll tell you something else. Talk about selfish bitch mode. Because people will get really upset when you no longer are in this power struggle with them. They'll sense it. They may not, they may care, they may not, but it's not your concern. And getting to that point of indifference, true indifference, and knowing that you just want to free yourself from the story. You most certainly don't want to pick up a victim archetypical pattern. You want to be a victim? Is that what you want? Do you want to be a martyr? Is that what you want? I mean, there's shadow sides and light sides to every archetypical pattern. When you are a victim or you are a martyr, again, there's potential for empathy. There's potential for compassion. Isn't it so much better to alchemize your life experiences into those energies instead of resentment, hate, anger, trying to energetically or literally punish someone? So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive my participation in this. Please forgive my choice to ignore how I was a part of this. Please forgive me for not recognizing you as the soul who we are contracted together to grow and heal and support each other in this life. And it's not my job to oversee your healing journey. I'm managing mine. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thank you for having your life experiences that allowed you to be this person, behave this way, whatever it is, that then met me because the universe brought us together so I could then have this healing journey. Thank you for being in this suffering with me, and now I set you free. And that's the I love you part. I set you free, I love you. Now the thank you, I'd like to give one more example story about this. As I've shared, the what's the word that I'm looking for? inspiration for this podcast was my mom, who I loved dearly, and I still love dearly, even in her passing. And the many times that woman liked to call me a selfish bitch. Yeah, you're really a selfish bitch, Cher Francine. And and I love my mom, and I loved her even as we were going through those struggles. And my mom chose throughout her life not to forgive. Truly. I mean, she really chose to hold on to a grudge, specifically toward her mother, my grandmother, the Kahuna, who, yes, my grandmother was a spiritual teacher and healer. She was not a perfect woman. None of us are. And that's the humanity. That's the other part of that, I'm sorry, it levels the playing field. It makes you think like, damn, you know what? I'm holding you to a standard that maybe I can't be held to, because anybody who walks through this life thinking that they have never hurt another person, you might want to check yourself. So in my thank you part with my mom, when I worked this practice with her in my mind and my heart and in my soul, was thanking her for choosing the suffering that she chose. This is so hard to explain and to share, you guys, because it can really sound kind of convoluted, but hang with me here. I'm so grateful that I got to watch the contrast of what I wanted from myself through my mother. I don't take my mom's suffering for granted. I add value to it. I knew through most of my life, once I got out of childhood and into my teen years for sure, my late teen years, my early 20s, I knew that I wanted to do different than my mom. And for a long time, it was with a lot of resentment. And then and kind of almost like to get back at her. Like, whatever I'm going to do, it's going to be the opposite of what my mom does. And it wasn't until many, many years into these practices that I realized that the true healing was seeing my mom suffering with appreciation and grace, not with resentment, but understanding that I was born to her so she could model for me the opposite of what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. She was my partner beyond any others in the healing and the growth and the evolutionary process, not only of my mind, human lived experience, but of my soul's experience. And I know that with every fiber of my being. I know that my two ex-husbands, especially when they teamed up, were my soul's partners for this evolutionary process of my soul to work off karma, to become a better person, to be a better person, to model for my children. And not to say like, well, my mom was a really messed up mom and now I'm a perfect mom. I promise you, my kids have plenty of material to talk to a therapist about. And I pray that they forgive me for any of the ways that I have certainly hurt them throughout their lives. And they are my pride and joys, as I was my mother's and me and my brothers. So it's not an easy path to walk this forgiveness practice. It is, I promise you, the most grace-filled, freeing, empowering, beautiful journey that you will ever come out on the other side of. It is not a comfortable process. None of your personal growth processes are here for your comfort. They're here for your benefit. Okay? I do, on a very limited basis, offer private advisory for somebody who is going through major life transitions, needs support seeing themselves, going through a forgiveness journey, to get out of suffering, going through divorce, whatever it is. So you can always reach out to me at hello@sharemelly.com to apply. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you I love you. Okay? I am going to attach a guided practice below. I might have a workshop on it. I don't know how great the sound is. The Little Soul in the Sun, I'll attach below. You can certainly find teachings on Ho'oponopono, but again, I've fused them together, so it takes it a little bit more deeply. I've never actually studied Ho'oponopono. I just woke up one day and knew the prayer. So there you go. Okay, before this other light goes out, because I didn't charge it, I send you so much love, so much grace, and I'll see you next time. As a matter of fact, for the mini-sode, I'm going to go ahead and guide you through forgiveness practice, so don't skip it.